remember before he actually went out to Kentucky, I'm very good friends with Stu Elliott. And I remember just wishing him luck, saying, hey, good luck, just kind of going, can't believe you made it to the Derby. And to watch him actually physically win the Kentucky Derby was crazy. It was awesome for Ben Salem, awesome for Philly, awesome for Pennsylvania. They had him training here in the morning. They would shut everything down and crowds would come in and people were going nuts every morning just to watch Smarty Jones train. It was a hometown horse with a hometown jockey and a hometown trainer.
He wins the Derby, we're all excited, so now it's time to go to the Preakness. And sure enough, Preakness is close to Ben Salem, so a bunch of trainers ended up going to the Preakness. We all got there, he wins the race, we're so excited, he has his own fan club. I had this silly little Instamatic Kodak camera that we all had back then, and I couldn't get close enough. So Homeland Security guy was really cool, he took my camera, got me a little closer. Next thing I know, he puts me on the podium right next to Governor Rendell. So I stayed there through the whole ceremony, just enjoying everything and taking everything in. It was a very exciting time, very exciting.
June 3rd, my wife was due with my son Richie. We were in the hospital until June 6th. So we saw at the Belmont Park on June 5th in the hospital. Oh my God, what a heartbreaking Smarty Jones lost. Everybody, the nurses, the doctors, they brought a bigger TV because we told them that was an important race. Everybody watched and everybody was rooting for Smarty Jones. And it was a heartbreaking whenever he lost. It was just super, super great and a super right for everybody in Pennsylvania, actually, Philadelphia, because everybody was rooting for him to win the Belmont, to win the Triple Crown that hasn't been won in so many years.
I was at a trade show out in Seattle, Washington. I knew the Kentucky Derby post time was coming up, so I had to find a reason to go back to my hotel room. So I had to make up something to my boss, went back to the hotel room, went nuts. We know what happens in the Kentucky Derby is that huge win. My mom's a big influence in me getting into horse racing, so I watched the Belmont Stakes with her and my stepdad. We had t-shirts. We were just so grateful to Smarty Jones, and he's such a legend here and a big reason why we are so successful here with Pennsylvania horse racing.
Stewie was always like such a professional. He, even though it was on his mind, like it had to be because it was such a great time, like he kind of just, when we were doing something away from the track, fishing, hunting, he kind of, that's the mode he was in. And then when we were back at the track, he was back in the Smarty Jones mode. He taught me a lot about riding. I wish I was a little better at it, but he was great friends with Frankie and myself. We were together every day. I believe we spoke a couple hours after the race. My wife and I and the kids watched it from home, and then my whole neighborhood was going crazy. The phone never stopped ringing, and it just, I think a couple hours after the race when he called and we spoke, and it was, I couldn't have been more proud of him. Just to watch it happen was just amazing when one of your best friends is doing something spectacular.
It was amazing because we get here to Philadelphia Park at the time, and helicopters above. There's, hundreds of people all over the place. I get into my car and I'm following the state troopers all the way to the line to New York, where we're going through, blasting through all the tolls, everything. And I have a camera on my shoulder as I'm driving. And we're going in across the George Washington Bridge, all the way to the Belmont Park, where people were waiting. There's probably 300-400 media there waiting for Smarty Jones to get there. And it was so cool because I was able to capture all that great footage of some really great people.
What I remember most about Smarty Jones in 2004 is how he made people feel. It was an election year, 2 wars going on. People were looking for some joy, and the horse gave it to them. And after the Derby, 2 nights after, back here at Parx, when the horse got back from Churchill Downs, the feeling on the backstretch and all around the racetrack was a pride of that this was our horse. This was a horse from what was then Philadelphia Park, now Parx, winning the biggest race in the country. And it was very much like the hometown hero returning from winning the state championship, and I will never forget that night.
From New York, Belmont Stakes was always my favorite race. We would go every year. We'd have a group of 20 people, family and friends. I've seen like 7 or 8 Triple Crown tries from Ali Sheba to Funny Side, Charismatic, and In 2004, there was energy, over 120,000 people at Belmont. It was the largest crowd ever at Belmont. I was on the third floor between the finish line and the 8th pole. We got great seats. Section O, I remember that. It's my last name, begins with an O, and the group of 20. And we were watching Smarty Jones, and the horse went off 1 to 5. We were sure that we were going to see it, and just got caught at the wire. It was really disappointing, to say the least. Being a fan of racing, I made my career in racing, and coming here to Parx, I got to meet John Service, great horseman. He's done a lot for the sport. Smarty Jones did a lot for the sport. Though we are still in the limelight, you know, it'd be nice to have another horse like that. Fingers crossed.
It was crazy. It was a magical time, certainly the highlight of my time here at Parx. Coming into work every day, everybody coming in smiling, you know, looking forward to, you know, what's going to happen next, and it truly was an amazing time. I remember when we sent Stewie and John and Chapman's off, we had some hats made up with Smarty Jones on it, just so, you know, so they would have something that they could wear. Fans were purchasing them. We continued that. Obviously, he won the Kentucky Derby, and you know, this place was just nuts. It was nuts, and I mean, I've been here quite a long time. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. We went on to produce probably another 15,000 hats and t-shirts for the next 2 races. All the profits from that went to the Backstretch Relief Fund. And what got everybody excited, not just here, not just in Ben Salem, but all of Philadelphia, actually all of the nation. I mean, it was just a great story. You know, Philadelphia, we were starving for a champion. We hadn't had a champion since the Sixers in 1983. So everybody just jumped on the bandwagon, if you want to call it. It was just, again, great time.
Maureen Donnelly, who was the assistant at the time, said, be careful with that horse, it's Smarty. So I had to go in and lift his lip, check the tattoo, and I said, this is not Smarty Jones. She says, I know who Smarty Jones is. And I said, well, this can't be Smarty Jones. She says, why? I says, he's small. And I had been around him before, but I never realized actually how small he was. Well proportioned, a beautiful horse, but it was the talent, it was all talent.